technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Anchetta. I'm really grateful that you're here. And please do like and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you might be seeing this. And drop a comment so we know that you're here. Appreciate your support and any questions that you might have for the show in the future. Today, I am really lucky to have a good friend of mine and someone I've been working with a bunch this year, Luiz Lopez from W Real Estate. We met through the Sonoma County Home Group team, right? And we've been, I don't know how many deals we've done together this year, like 4?
Yeah.
And you've just been absolutely crushing it. Wanted to have you on the show because you're new to the industry and wanted to, talk about what you're doing to find success.
Yeah. I mean,
So introduce yourself to the audience and then tell us what you're doing.
As well as Dan mentioned, Luiz Lopez with W Real Estate. I am about coming up on 2 years now in the game.
Yeah.
This year's been definitely one to remember. Found a lot of success this year. We've been working together a lot, which is super nice. As far as what's been working for me so far, I think really just authenticity and just not forcing things, letting things happen naturally. I'm more focused on the connection more so than I am on sale.
Yeah, your clients have all been really great people, like really nice people, like fun to work with, and we've met them at the office and just really cool, people you want to spend time with.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're pulling from mostly friends and family type groups right now?
Yeah, so it started off a lot with my immediate sphere, people that I've interacted with more frequently. And then from there, slowly, they started referring me out. Right. And so now I've gotten to the point where I'm expanding a little bit more and working with other people that I've never actually met. So that's nice.
Call it the brick by brick method.
Yeah.
Right. It's you can't just build the house, right? Because it's brick by brick. It's the friends and family that gives you the foundation. And then they start referring people and you add a couple more bricks and then you start getting referrals from the people that you were referred to.
Exactly.
Right. And you kind of build this web and it's a slow process, but that's a sustainable business.
Yeah. I would definitely say, I was getting frustrated at first because I was like, oh man, when am I going to close more deals? When am I going to get into, the real estate game a little bit more heavy? Because I did my first deal in October of last year. And
when did you get your license?
I got my license. I passed the exam in November of 2022.
And it took you almost a full year to close your first deal?
Well, I didn't sign up with a brokerage until about March 23.
Okay.
And then when I did, I started off at a smaller brokerage. And then I joined W in early August. And then once I joined W, that's when I got my first deal.
So it was 5 or 6 months at the smaller brokerage, didn't close a deal. And then you pivoted, aligned with W, got into a mentorship thing over there.
Yeah.
And then found success soon after going there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good course correction, right? Kind of not that I know who you were for before and they're nice people, right? But it's, if you're not getting your needs met or whatever, that's okay. It's okay to move on to a place that's, kind of able to support you in the way that you need. And good for you for doing that course correction and not quitting the business because it didn't happen, in the first 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because I started off at a smaller brokerage and I think a week in, I already had a client that was ready to make an offer on a house.
Yeah.
And I was super excited. I didn't really fully understand how the whole process worked just yet. Right. I was like, we're going to make an offer. We're going to get it. And I didn't realize, I underestimated the amount other people making offers on some of these properties.
Sure.
And so I was kind of caught by surprise. I was like, wow, there was 13 offers that came in. We got outbidded. Ours was pretty good. And we had some leeway. We got countered. But I mean, it was great to start that way. But then after that, it kind of just died out.
Did those clients wind up transacting with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that, a lot of times we just have to get the first offer out of the way. Just make the offer. Even if you don't get it, it's okay. You go through the process, you fill out the form, the clients DocuSign their stuff and they're nervous and they kind of get those jitters. And then if they don't get it, that's okay. And then the next offer typically happens pretty quickly after that. And then we kind of know what to expect. And you kind of get in the flow and hey, here we go. And just like you did last time.
Yeah, exactly. And it starts to happen more naturally too. I think even getting that first offer out of the way, they start to feel more comfortable too. Like, okay, this is not as scary as we thought it was.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned so far? In your career, you've done some interesting deals. We were talking before we started recording. We had some really great clients, but interesting transactions that we've had.
Yeah.
Is there a big lesson that you've learned? Anything like, if I would have known then what I know now? Is there anything like that stands out for you?
I think the biggest lesson, and it comes in a way of like, I got some advice I got from Melissa from Sonoma County Home Group.
Yeah.
It was during one of our last deal actually. And she was like, it's not over till it's over. And that really stuck with me because I was feeling defeated. I was like, oh man, this thing's going to fall through.
Yeah.
All this hard work. We've been working super hard. I've been working extremely hard to get this done. And it just felt like we weren't going to get it to the finish line. And she was like, oh, not over till it's over. Just keep trying.
You really hung in there on that one.
Yeah.
That was a tough deal, man. I got to tell you, I was calculating like my totals that I've done like in my career. I've done like 300 million in total fundings and 700 something units. I don't know the exact number. It's on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But that deal that you and I did was one of the tougher. That's probably like in the top 5 toughest deals I've done in terms of the people were nice and they were responsive and that part of it was, you have difficult deals because you have difficult people, right? Mm-hmm. This wasn't a difficult people situation. It was just a hard deal.
Yeah.
And you hung in there and you were all over it. So if you're looking for a realtor who's going to work really, really hard for you and like, just don't quit, keep going, find another solution, find another path. You really proved yourself on that one. That was tough.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely the biggest lesson so far, just because it was the hardest transaction I've ever faced.
Yeah.
And then 2, just kind of seeing a completely different side. Not that all my deals have been extremely smooth, but just facing that adversity and then knowing that you can overcome it and then being able to still keep your clients, give them some peace of mind that things will work out in the end.
You got to take your lumps, you take your lumps and you learn from it. And now you know how to handle a tough situation like that in the future. And you kind of know how to anticipate things, how to handle them. And, it's a good learning experience. Like, obviously I'm glad that we got to the finish line.
Yep.
Right. But it was a really good learning experience for me and for you. And it was really actually interesting because you're talking about Melissa Hill, from Sonoma County Home Group. And so we have a relationship. We do a lot of business together as well. And so, she was I was talking to her and Angela about the deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we think we're going to be okay. Like I'm talking to Louis, telling him what's going on, but like, we're going to make it. It's a little sketchy. But I think we're going to get to the finish line. So it was kind of cool to have that, that you're hearing it from them. I'm talking to them and we're kind of all working together. I think what that speaks to me is the importance of like the relationships, right? Like we very easily could have just thrown up our hands at that deal and been like, well, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. But you had great mentors that were kind of advising you what to do. I'm working with my really highly skilled team on the back end, trying to figure out, okay, we can't go this direction. How do we go this direction? How do we do this? How do we do this?
Yeah.
And communally, we all worked together to figure it out, made it work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So those relationships are really important.
Definitely teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So about 2 years in now, and you're on a really high kind of trajectory. Business is coming from family and friends, and now you're kind of trying to grow that sphere. What are you doing? Anything maybe differently, unique in the way that you're finding clients and reaching out to them? Are you like, what's your most common like outreach that you're doing?
I'm trying to be better at the social media stuff.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. I underestimated that so much. It's like a whole different skill.
It's a whole skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I tried forcing it a little bit and I think that didn't work out for me. I think it comes off as forced. And so I've always been someone that likes to share and like post funny things. And it's just my humor.
Sure.
And so I started doing that a little bit also with real estate, just kind of some of the funny things that you encounter.
Yeah.
Like something as so simple as the lockbox not opening when you're there with your client. And, you know, it's awkward trying to open the door and you're like, oh, sorry, I'm struggling. But just started doing things like that. I get, a little bit of traction from Instagram, Facebook, social media platforms.
Well, the interesting thing with that is just kind of reminding your people who already know you what you do. I'm always shocked. Like so shocked that I've been doing this for 8 years, and I'll post something and be like, oh, I didn't realize you're in the mortgage business. I'm like, dude, it's my Instagram handle.
Yeah.
Dan Anchetta _ home loans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a secret.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not telling people. I'm pretty vocal. It's part of how we've, crafted. I do a weekly podcast about, you know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like,
I was about to say,
how do you not know?
Yeah.
But they don't. And even though, we are friends or friendly, people have to be reminded.
Yeah.
You have to stay top of mind. You have to keep telling them. And even past clients, it's shocking to me. Past clients would be like, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know that you can do loans outside of Sonoma County.
Yeah.
Like, someone bought a house in Sacramento, and I was like, hey, you didn't call me. I followed up with you. We've kept in contact. You just had to use someone else. Like, kind of give me some feedback. Did I do something did you think that you're better served by someone else? And they're like, oh, we just thought you only did loans in Sonoma County.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just talking to another one of my colleagues, and we were talking about the misconceptions.
Yeah.
And I've encountered recently where there's a misconception that sometimes people think that you have to go to the listing agent,
right? That
you have to start there.
Well, that's even more prevalent now with the changes in the buyer broker.
But also the misconception that, okay, you helped me buy, but I didn't know that means you could also help me sell in the future.
Right.
I thought you could only help buyers.
Yeah, I don't know why our industry tends to be like kind of secretive about things, but I think like programs like this and other ways of communicating, like, hey, I can help you. Like, you are licensed in the state of California. You can do real estate transactions anywhere in the state, but you also have a massive network of people that you can tap into.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to relocate from Sonoma County to Washington, like, you can vet someone, find someone, and refer your client from here to go out of state.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that. Like, I'm licensed in, I think, 5 states. I was at the count. 5. And so I actually do quite a bit of business in the state of Washington.
So yeah, I didn't know that.
Right. I don't know why.
Yeah.
See, I need to not keep that a secret. I have a great agent up there who I need to have on the show at some point, that I've never met. We've been working together for like 3 years, and we've done probably 30 transactions together.
In Washington?
In Washington.
You were just out there, right?
So we have an office in Portland.
Okay.
So I was in Portland.
Oh, okay.
But this is actually in the Kitsap Peninsula, which is like in the water, by Seattle. And I have a friend from high school that moved up there, and I met this realtor through that transaction because I did the loan there. I actually got licensed specifically to be able to do the loan for my buddy. And then met that realtor, and we just kind of were each other's people.
Yeah.
And so we talk all the time, we're friends, but I've never met her in person.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool.
It's funny that you mentioned the getting licensed just for that particular reason. Because when I was first contemplating getting into the real estate game, I only was thinking about myself. I was like, I know I want to be a homeowner.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
And I started off with 1 class, and then I was like, wait, I need 2 more classes, and
might as well do it.
It's
interesting. So on the personal side, you've had a big year.
Yeah.
So you bought a house. Got married. Crushing it in the real estate game.
Yep.
What's next?
Oh man, I don't know. Hopefully good things. I mean, I'm hoping to expand, continue to close some deals this year.
Yeah.
This year alone, not including mine, I'm closing my 4th one this week. And I know that even just in your first 2 years, I mean, it's hard to get that many deals. Yeah. So I'm really hoping I can get a couple more. My goal is to get another 2 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I surpass that, that's even better.
I think you will, man. You're doing all the right things. And I think that, all the clients that I've worked with, we've worked with together, the feedback is like, we want to send all of our friends and family to you guys, and we appreciate you taking care of us, and explaining the details and being patient and all that. And you're given the landscape that we're in now, you're doing way better than the average person would be doing, because you're working really, really smart, and I think you did the right thing by going to get the mentorship that you needed and kind of being helped along there.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
I think it's important too, the dynamic that you and I have with working with clients.
Yeah.
I think they feel comfortable knowing that we get along and that we
we become
together.
friends and we talk and we're buddies, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool when we're working with a client, they kind of come in and we're like, hey, you're kind of hanging out with us and we're talking. Like, there's a couple meetings that you come to and you're like hanging out on the couch, just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my spiel and doing the home buyer education, and you're like, I'm just going to hang.
Yeah.
right? And answer questions and chime in when you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Which really cool dynamic, and that's different than most experiences.
Yeah. I think showing up matters. Just showing, your clients that you're there with them through every single step, and making them feel comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to work on your babysitting skills though.
Yeah, definitely.
We have these awesome clients that brought in their kids, and they were hanging out in the office, and we were like going through paperwork and stuff, and I was like, "Hey man, get them off the couch."
Yeah. It's like, oh man,
you're chasing them down. It was fun. They're great. They're great people. So a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I think that dynamic between the realtor and the lender, like you said, is really important. And like, it shouldn't be butting heads. It should be like, we're all in it together. We're moving you in the right direction. We're here to help you. We're supportive.
Yeah. I think it's easy to do because you're dealing with so much stress in certain transactions. But just even like our last transaction, I think you and I, even in, the midst of all the stress that we were dealing with trying to get this to the finish line, I don't think we ever got frustrated with one another.
No, we were just texting each other. I haven't lost, I was telling Luisa that I haven't lost sleep over a deal in years.
Yeah.
And this one I lost sleep over. I was like waking up at 2:00 in the morning, 2:10.
Yeah.
Exactly 2:10 a.m. I'd wake up and be like, oh man, how am I going to fix this? What are we going to do? How do we make this one work? And then I was telling you that. You're like, I haven't slept either.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to be able to just kind of chat with each other about that and be like, yeah, this is stressful. And like, I think that's important to know. Like, we take it personally. You know what I mean? Like, we're really working hard, and it's a personal thing. Like, I lose sleep. It impacts my life.
Yeah.
When I'm not getting it to the finish line, Yeah.
I mean, definitely when you care and when you want to make something work and you take pride in what you do, I mean, definitely it's personal. I mean, you feel like you can't help or you feel like you can't do something. You're like, I got to find a way. I got to figure something out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think that that advice that I got, that, it's not over till it's over. It's, it's really true. I mean, till you either
till it cancels and or the document signed and
we're still
in the game.
Yeah.
So going back to like the advice for, new people out there, I've actually seen like a number of new people getting licensed and people getting started. Maybe they're still in their first 2 years, and they aren't kind of finding as much success as you are. Interestingly, I'm thinking about that in my head. The few people that I know that are a couple years in that are really finding success have mentors.
Yeah.
And the people who are not doing so great are the ones who are trying to go solo and not have a mentor to help guide them and keep them on track.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Because for when I first started, even when I started at W, I didn't have a mentor. I thought, I had some experience with, contracts and things like that. So I thought I'd be able to kind of understand what I was doing a lot more. But it's a whole different game. And just having someone there with the experience, even just kind of running certain responses or how to, fill something out, just having that extra set of eyes is extremely helpful.
100%. There's so many details that you just can't miss,
Yeah.
So it's like, having a more experienced set of eyes. We do that here in our office where, I'll get a, tough deal and I'll go socialize it, go walk around the office, even though I'm the most experienced person, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to bounce it off other people, be like, hey, Aaliyah, what do you think about this? How would you handle that? Oh, well, have you thought about that? Yeah, I thought about that. Go to the next person and kind of figure it out. That's how we actually found the solution to this deal there. So remind me, because I think I know the answer, but just, so we can talk about it. What's your education background? What did you do before real estate?
So my education background, I graduated from Berkeley.
Hence the hat.
Yeah. Rocking my old stomping ground. So I graduated with a degree in sociology, lots of reading, lots of writing. And then after Berkeley, I was working at a law firm in Marin County. I was doing a lot of landlord-tenant stuff as a legal assistant. And from there, that's where I started talking and dealing with property management companies, real estate agents, and things like that.
So that's an interesting perspective coming into the, real estate sales side, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of seeing like some of the litigation that happens and landlord-tenant relations and all the laws that go along with that. So you can, you're not a licensed attorney, but you've seen these things and you kind of, know a little bit about it.
It's definitely, I think, obviously, as agents, you always, go about things with a lot of precaution. But I think seeing how things could possibly turn out, and just having that background, I think I'm like overly cautious sometimes. So it's like a double-edged sword. Sometimes I'm too cautious where it could just be something I'm overthinking something that might be a little bit more simple.
Right.
But that's where that mentorship is great, because I'm overcomplicating something potentially, and then they're like, oh, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Yeah, you can just check this box and you're done.
But I think it is cool because you have that kind of methodology of like thinking, right? Like I've actually thought, going back in time, if I can redo some of my education, my degrees in business management, and I have my MBA, but I kind of wish I would have done some like pre-law work, because it's not necessarily that I want to practice law, but it's more so that the way of going about solving a problem, right? And like the process of analyzing and thinking about issues, I think would be really helpful in real estate.
Yeah, I agree. And just also knowing what the effects of a contract are,
right?
And, knowing that there are legal consequences to what you check, what you don't check.
Yeah,
I think
it's not as easy as just filling out a form.
No,
like you actually have to know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, another vote for getting a mentor.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because like they've seen it, they've done it, they've been through it, they've made mistakes and paid the consequences, probably, because we all do.
Yeah.
And you learn by doing, and that's part of the process. But if you can have a coach or a mentor that helps you avoid the major problems and like show you the stuff that they already know, that's probably a good use of your time to invest in something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think having that mentorship is super helpful. Like I said, bouncing ideas. And I think, even just having extra support, like in case that you can't get to something, or you can't, are running behind on something, just to have that extra support to be like, hey, did you remember to do this? And it's like, oh, now I got to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think accountability is one of the things that we miss in the industry, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's like self-employed. Yeah. Right? Like you're self-employed, and there's no consequences for anyone else essentially, except for you. If you don't want to go make the calls and do the stuff and do the follow-up, and your client fires you and they go use someone else, like that doesn't impact anyone but you, really.
Really, yeah.
So the accountability is hard because there's no like peer pressure, right? From like you would have in another job.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I try to work on with the agents I work with a bunch. It's like, hey, how do we hold each other accountable? Right. So I've done like calling hours, like, hey, we're going to call a bunch of, prospects together, from Zillow leads, whatever we're doing. And we're going to get on Zoom together. We're not going to talk to each other, but we're going to be on Zoom looking at each other while we're making our calls. Yeah. And I think that accountability, we've done that to kind of stay on track with accountability, but it's something that we're working on here at Sequence, is to help my loan officers like be consistent with the business development activities, right? Yeah. Because what we don't want to do is get on the roller coaster where you're doing 2 transactions, then none, then 2 transactions, then none for a couple months, and then it takes you time to find the next deals, and then you get a deal and you're hold so tight because you don't want to let it go. And it's like, if you just consistently do the business development stuff and make the phone calls and follow up with people and connect with agents and spend time in the community and do all these like things, then good results happen. Yeah. You have to, even when you're busy, you have to find the ways to consistently do those things.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think you and I were just talking about that the other day when, because this deal that I'm closing is the first deal in a couple deals that we haven't worked together on. I'm working with a loan officer on it. And so you and I were talking about, what's next? When are we going to get our next deal? Yep. And then shortly after, I think the deal that we just closed, there, hey, we're sending you over some clients, some of our friends.
Some friends of ours, you've helped us. Thank you so much for helping us.
Exactly,
and we have friends that need help too. And can we connect you? It's like, absolutely.
Yep.
Send them down.
Yep. Send them our way.
Yeah. So, and that's the momentum that you start building.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, I still do a lot of business development stuff, but I've got years of experience and hundreds of clients I've worked with. And the thing for me is like, going back and engaging with our past clients and our people that we know and already know, like, and trust us. They've already entrusted us to help them. And it's just going back to them and checking in and being of service. Even if they've got like a rate that starts with a 2, they don't need us to do a mortgage. They still need other financial services. They need help. They need an attorney. They need this, and that's where we can provide a service.
Yeah.
Continuing for the life of the relationship.
Yeah.
So
I think you mentioned that recently in a different podcast.
You listened to the podcast?
Oh,
I'm honored.
Of course. Yeah, I think you mentioned it, how many times after the transaction closes, you'd be interested to see how many times within, I think you said 6 months.
Yep.
Do you actually check in with,
Yep.
that
We
person?
actually, on my team here, we instituted a kind of mandatory, like we're going to check in this point,
Yeah.
this point, this point, because it's unacceptable that 6 months after a transaction closes that a client would know who we are and how to get a hold of us.
Yeah.
Like that's unacceptable. It's not allowed to happen anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's super common for it to happen, I think. And I mean, just making that shift in your own practice, in your own business, day. I think that's such a big difference, just keeping those relationships and communicating, even, if it's a simple text, hey, how's the house?
Yeah. I mean, it comes from an authentic place too. Like I was driving, I texted a client, actually, take it back. They're actually not a client. They're someone who came to me looking for a second opinion because their other lender was not doing great for them. We provided them with another option, and then the lender came back and kind of did what we were going to do, but they were already kind of further along. Anyway, the point is that I drove past the house because it's near in Petaluma. I was running an errand, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't talked to so and so in forever." I just shot him a text like, "Hey, just thought of you. Haven't talked to you for a while. I just drove past your house. Just wanted to check in and see what's up."
Yeah.
And guess what? It's like, "Hey, that's so good to hear from you. Thanks so much for checking in." He knows who I am. I would bet you $100 that he has no idea the name of the person who actually made him the loan, because I've followed up, even though I never made him a loan. It was like 2021, I think, when they did that transaction.
Yeah.
Like I've kept in contact with them because I genuinely like people and care about them, and he happened to be a really interesting person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I mean that organic chemistry. I mean, you really can't beat that.
Yeah. One of my goals in life is to not do anything inauthentically.
Yeah.
Like I think we talked before. Like I don't play golf because if I'm going to be a golfer, I want to be a golfer.
Yeah.
I want to golf every week. I want to be good at it. Right.
Exactly.
I don't do things like I don't dabble with stuff. I'm either totally doing it or I don't do it at all. And I do new things. It's just that if I'm going to do it, I go all the way. It's like the studio, for example. Like I wasn't my plan to have like a full podcast studio. It was going to be me and a camera and a microphone. That was it. And then, like I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it all the way. And I want it to be really nice and good lighting and good cameras and microphones and all the stuff. And that's what we did. That's how I do most things. Anyway, I don't know why I started talking about that. But anyway, I think that, living authentically was the topic. And I think that's the deal for me is that I don't want to do anything inauthentically. I don't talk to clients inauthentically. I don't talk to partners inauthentically. I want to do everything from the heart all the way or not at all.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, the right people, will.
Yeah, it gives people an option to self-select.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they don't want to participate in like the stuff that I'm doing, then they won't use me and they'll move on and they'll go find someone who meets their needs. But I don't want to have peripheral partnerships. I want to be either we're friends and we're going to work together or we're not.
Yeah. And I think it's okay that you're not always everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I'm not, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think I at first thought that I had to, every lead that I had and every potential person that I spoke to about wanting to purchase real estate, I thought I had to have that, be their agent. And then as I started developing, my personality in the real estate industry a lot more, I felt like I understood the fact that, not everyone has to want to work with you.
Yeah. And don't chase it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Honestly, I've wasted so much energy chasing down people and chasing down deals and chasing down people who I think would be a good real, partner or realtor or whatever. And when you chase someone, it's
yeah.
So don't chase. Attract. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be exactly who you are, and 100% of the time, and you'll attract the people who jive with that and want to be around you.
Yeah.
And the people who don't won't.
It's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And you'll have a better life. You'll be happier.
Yeah.
So tell me. So as I told you, I was going to ask you this question. So, in addition to real estate, you're a musician.
Yep.
I'm curious to know about that. Tell me a little bit about what you play and what you do. Because I've talked to you when you're like, "Hey man, I'm just about to get on stage. I'll call you back in a bit." but then I don't think I ever followed up to ask you
Yeah.
how the gig went or anything like that. So what are you playing, and tell me about your music career.
Yeah, so I am a drummer. I play the drums for a norteño music group, it's Mexican genre, with my 3 cousins and their brothers, actually. And then our singer, he's a lifelong friend who's also now become family. And the 5 of us, we started the band. I mean, we've been playing for about 10 years together now.
Okay. So what are the parts and what are the pieces of the band?
The main instruments are accordion, bajo quinto, which is a 10-string instrument, and then electric bass and voice and drums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we do private gigs, so sometimes people will hire us for quinceañeras, weddings, baptisms, birthday parties, really anything that anyone wants to do to party. And then we do a lot of public events too. Last year we played at the Apple Gravenstein Fair that just happened this year.
Cool.
We played at the Rivertown Revival.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've had good public gigs as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, it's really fun to go out and play, share the culture, and show people what we do, what we love to do, and have fun doing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When did you start playing drums?
I was 15.
Okay.
Yeah. I always wanted to since I was young.
I always wanted to be a drummer.
Yeah.
That was always my dream.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny because whenever we go and perform or when we go to play, all the little kids kind of gravitate towards the drums the most. I mean, it's the loudest and
really hitting stuff with sticks.
Exactly. And that was me. That was me when I was younger.
Yeah.
So when I finally got the chance to actually start, and me and my cousins, we each chose an instrument and we started, and we knew nothing. We absolutely had no idea what we were doing, but we knew that we wanted to start playing together. And so
that's
we're
awesome,
like,
dude.
I mean, my uncle, my cousin's dad, he was the one that had the music background. He had played in other bands. He played guitar, and he knew enough about the instruments to kind of guide us in the right direction. And then from there, we grew up in YouTube age, so we were able to look up certain things and look at videos, and we were kind of self-taught. Just
that's amazing.
We don't know how to read music. We don't know how to read sheet music, but we still have the passion for it, and so we're able to listen to songs and play them and figure out chords.
That is so cool. My dad's a very talented musician, and I just don't have it in me. I've tried to play guitar, I've tried bass, I've tried to play the drums. I think it's one of those things like I have to like do it. You know what I mean? But I've always wanted to be a drummer. I always thought being a drummer would be the coolest of all of the instruments to play. My dad mostly plays guitar and bass.
It's definitely super fun. The downside to it is you're the first to show up and the last to leave.
You got to haul a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of being the singer is probably the best.
Yep.
It's like show up and plug in. And
there's a lot of funny singer jokes that we tell our singer.
Yeah. Not appropriate for the podcast, probably.
We'll leave those for a separate conversation.
Right on. Well, do you guys have a website?
We don't, but we do have social media.
Okay, we'll put a social media link
in
the show notes. So if people want to check out your music, they can do that.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll make sure that people know how to connect with you for your real estate stuff.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up the show?
No, just thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, dude. It's been long overdue. Glad we're able to make it work schedule-wise. And congratulations on all your success. You're really, really proud of you. You're crushing it.
Thanks, man.
Clients love you, and you've done really, really well. So congrats on all your success, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes for you in the next few years and continuing to grow.
Yeah, continuing to work together.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for being on By the Bay, and thanks for listening to the show. And make sure you like and subscribe, and check us out on social. See you all soon.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. This is By the Bay.
London Ear Media.